What's going on, Pick 3 players? I wanted to go over some strategies for Pick 3 Missouri. We have some members asking what's been going on with Missouri, and I want to share just a couple of quick techniques that I'm using, especially using key digit numbers. And you've probably been hearing so much about that on the channel. It's very important that you do pay attention because sometimes hits are missed because we're overlooking a couple of things. Now I'm going to show you two different rundowns. The first one we're going to go over is the 1 2 3 rundown, and then later we're going to go over the 3 1 7. So for my pro players that are using multiple rundowns, you kind of want to see what the hot numbers are doing depending on the rundown, because you know, when you make those slight changes, you may see some differences. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start where we are with Missouri. We went back quite a few days, about 5 days. All right, make sure that you're keeping a daily log. All right, Missouri has two draws. They have a midday and an evening draw. I make sure that I look and I line everything up. Whether you're using notebooks, whatever you're using, make sure you're keeping a daily log. This is how you're going to start catching patterns. There are more than one way. There's more than one way, to use these rundowns. So don't think because the method I'm showing you here is the only way. It's not. Matter of fact, you'll probably see even more. But let's just keep it simple, okay? Let's start talking about key digit numbers for Missouri, okay? So we're going to go back. I want to show you guys June 28th evening for Missouri, there was a 029 that hit. I want to share with you going back a couple days or so, maybe a day, where that number hit and maybe what could have helped you select that particular combination. Okay, so we're going to go back to June 27th. The midday hit was 322. 322. So here we're using the 1 2 3 rundown. Now the next question is, how do we count them out? So you put them together. In case I have some newbies on, we'll count out the first column so you'll know exactly how to put the grids together. All right, so you're going to lock in your last hit like we did, 322, which hit June 27th midday, and we're going to add each of these numbers down the columns. Okay, so for the first column we're going to add 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. For our two-digit numbers, only use your ones, place your 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And 2 plus 1 is 3. So the number you start with, 3, should be the number that you end with. And then you would add 2 all the way down the second column, 3 all the way down the third column. All right? Not too hard, right? Awesome. Okay, so Missouri, we're going to pay attention to what we call our key digit numbers. Okay, in this case the number 2, and maybe it's mirrored number 7. All right, I want you to pay close attention to that. Now we're looking for the 029. We're trying to figure how that hit, and you're probably already looking. Some of you already noticed it, and some of you from the membership should definitely know what's going on here. You see that hit straight across as 209. What? And it was boxed. It wasn't perfect order, but it was sitting straight across on your rundowns. Sometimes we're missing these particular type of hits because we're not paying attention to some very special numbers, 2s and 7s, especially when they're paired up together. Sometimes the numbers on top or the bottom could be the hottest. Okay, so I want you to make sure you're paying attention to it, and the numbers that include the 2s and 7s. Okay, so this is what I mean. If I see a 2 2, I'm going to look at the number itself as a possibility, like 322. I'm also going to look at 209, the number above it, 186, and the number below the 322, we can catch it up here, 445. Okay, so let's just say, okay, that the 2s are really hot and you're paying attention to them. You'll notice that the 029 was the winning hit from this list. Again, it wasn't in perfect order, I know, but it was still sitting straight across. And I'm trying to look at these very simply. When you do see hits going straight across, simply ask yourself, what's holding that hit? what numbers are around that hit that are special. Sometimes they're date some numbers, but I notice sometimes they don't fall in line with date some numbers. Sometimes they're key digits, meaning that when you see them, something special may happen or a pattern is really hot around it. Okay. All right. Now, don't just stop there. All right. Sometimes you may want to look at your mirrors as well. So let's talk about our mirrors. Our mirror numbers, we have 2 and 7. You notice how we have 2, 2 here? We have 2, 7 here. Those are mirror numbers. There are other numbers, and you want to pay attention to them, okay? So 0 could be a 5, or 5 could be a 0. You'll see where we're going with this in a minute. 1 could be a 6, 6 could be a 1. 2 could be a 7, 7 could be a 2. 3 could be an 8, 8 could be a 3. 4 could be a 9, and a 9 could be a 4. Okay, now what this means is you're also going to want to pay attention to that part of the rundown as well, the mirrors. So for instance, you may, and I'm not saying, if you notice they're doing it just with the double 2s, that's fine. You can maybe stick there, but be careful. I'm just giving you heads up. Like for instance, 2, 7, instead of just doing 3, 2, 2, you may want to do 8, 2, 7. All right. You may want to do the 704, the 209, just like it was sitting here. Okay, that's its mirror. You might want to do the 940. All right, and am I forgetting anything else? I'm forgetting something else. This, I put 681, and it would be the same number. So anything that goes above your doubles for your key digits, or they include, just pay attention to those numbers. So those could be some additional numbers you may have wanted to add when you're trying to figure out. My thing is just practice on paper first, okay? So now watch this. You guys had another hit that came straight across, and it came a couple days before. Now watch this. This 322, I want to share with you guys on June 27th midday where that came from. If you go back 2 days, June 25th, okay, notice how the 2s are here again. All right, so your 322, 445, your 209, those could be hot, right? Well, they were. We got 2 hits out of this. The 322 hit from this grid. Now this is because they're part of the key digits. Remember when I was putting down the options? Make sure you include the numbers with the key digit, okay? So numbers like 322, 827, then 209, 704, and then you might want to do the numbers under 940 and 445. I've seen them float up and down. That's why I'm telling you this ahead of time so you can keep a look after it. But the 209, which also hit off this chart, these are literally the same rundown. They just came back up, all right? So that should tell you how hot the key digits are. You guys, your 209 and your 322 came off this grid. When the 322 hit, the 209 came a day after. Nice, okay? So make sure you're paying attention. Let me go through another thing with you guys if you're using the 317 right now. Oh yeah, I'm covering us. I'm covering it, okay? Now this time, we're going to talk about the key digits, the 0s and 5s, okay? Something I noticed with the 317, okay? And of course, you guys know your mirrors. 0 could be a 5, which they happen to be mirrors. 1 could be a 6, 2 could be a 7, 3 could be an 8, 4 can be a 9, and vice versa. So we already know what those are. Now let me show you something with the 317 that's just a little different. When you change up your rundowns, you may see hits. They come a little different. I'm still keeping up with the theme of paying attention to numbers going across, but I definitely want you to pay attention to this first. So we're going to start with the hit 156, okay? You notice June 29th, the midday hit was 156. I want to share with you how a couple days going diagonal using key digits could have helped you choose that hot number. So let's go back a couple days. Let's go back to June 27th evening. The hit was 699. Now, You guys already know how to put rundowns together. We already worked on the 1, 2, 3. I want you to pay attention, to your key digits, zeros and fives. So we have a 5 and a 0. Notice they're split. They're not together like the 2s and the 7s, right? They're split. But when you go diagonal, up or down, sometimes there are numbers that are hot. And those numbers may be reflected across the grid days before, telling you to pay attention to this number. Again, the rundown has changed now. We're using the 317. So same state. This is Missouri. Okay. So let's look at this. You see wherever your splits are, pay attention. So you got 516 going up. If you go the other way, you got 019. If you go down, you have 534. And if you go the other way, 031. Now feel free to use the other ones, okay? Like I'm looking at 061. I'm looking at 465. I'm looking at 089. And then I'm looking at the other way, 465. Already did that. 465. 061. I'm sorry, 586. That's the other one. Okay, so just giving you some options here. Okay, the 516. I want you to pay attention to your grid to kind of look and see what could be one of the best numbers that could play from this grid using these. I want you to pay attention to see if you see it going across anywhere. Well, if you go back a couple of days, that's why I said keep your grids. Look at the 516. Isn't that the same? 516 using 156. So this thing came across, not just slanted, kind of confirming and telling you pay attention to that hot number. Now with everything I'm giving you, I can't guarantee hits on the channel or in the membership. I want you to play responsibly. Okay. All right. Wasn't sure that this is really cool. It happened again. Okay, let's look at the 029 that hit June 28th evening. Okay, let's look at this hit. This hit 029. Now, if you notice, it came straight across 902. I want you to also look at the grid from June 27th midday. You notice here the split keys were here. We had 029, 526. Okay, we had 001 and 405. Now, if you want to use the others, we could go 556. We'll do it here. 556, 059. We'll do 574 and 071. Okay, so if I'm looking at these numbers, right, I see that pay attention to anything going straight across. The 029 that we have listed here from that diagonal showed itself going straight across, and then it hit. Look at that. So I wanted to share that with you, so you guys decide which patterns you like better, which ones you think that you can predict. Some of my pros will probably use a mixture of both. But pay attention. These are some really hot things going on with both rundowns. So when people say, oh, the 1, 2, 3 and the 317 is not working for my state, I always compare both. If I see that both are doing something special, I want to share that with you guys. So pay close attention, Missouri. I hope this helps. Leave a like. Let me know in the comments how you're doing with this, and we'll see you guys on the next video.